Welcome everyone to Wcu Entertainment Review. I'm your host Jimmy, here with Dylan, who is like the Phillies for the rest of the season. They just don't matter.
At least I'm not so bad that I made the spring go away.
That's true, it is cold outside. But anyway, today we're going to talk about a couple entertainment topics, Dylan, as we usually do, including WWE 2K15. We're going to talk about shows that are returning that have long since been canceled. Not this show, it should have been.
Yeah.
And the movies like Fast and Furious, which broke all types of records this weekend. So let's send it to the Game Central with Jimmy and Dylan. And we're back here at the green screen. I'm here with Dylan, and today, Dylan, we're going to talk about WWE 2K15, which came out recently, actually back in October, but it's finally got all its DLC released, so it's officially completely released.
The naming convention has no relationship to when it was released.
Yeah. Really. But basically this is a series that's gone all the way back to 1999 with SmackDown on the PS1, and it's basically grown into one of the top sporting games, which I know the argument is wrestling's not a sport, which it's not because it's fake.
No, but I remember these kind of games had like their heyday back in the early, and it seems that there's been a recent resurgence with wrestling games being popular again.
I mean, they've been popular, but really what the point of this conversation is really about is kind of to give you an overview of the series, kind of like we did with Mortal Kombat and Batman. And with the WWE series, it started off with THQ and has ended up at 2K. And Dylan, why don't you kind of explain what happened with THQ?
THQ used to be a big publisher, producer kind of company. Think EA, Activision, Blizzard, that kind of stuff. They used to make a lot of games, and a lot of game companies used to go to them to publish their games. And they collapsed because they made very bad business decisions. They pulled an Atari, effectively, and they just made a product nobody bought, and it made them collapse.
And they also had the problem of two of their biggest series, one being the WWE and the other one being UFC, kind of slumping at the same time. And then you had launches, some other title launches that weren't as successful as they were hoping. And that's where you get into the problem where they ended up at. And so 2K14 was a game that came out the prior year, and it was kind of a game where you couldn't really give it a fair viewing, because what happened was 2K took the game after it was already 3 months into development because CHQ got sold to them.
Yeah.
Or WWE got sold to 2K, excuse me. And what happened was you basically had to be finished by March date of everything that needed to be added. So they only had like 2 months to add anything. So basically 2K kind of got the handcuff for that last game. So now we're at 2K15, which I own the game. And, I'm not very impressed. I mean, it's a fun game, it's okay, it's not great. And one of the big problems with the series is it's kind of gotten into what we've called the Madden curse on the show a lot.
The early release, effectively what happens is when games get popular or deal with sports, I feel sports games more than anything else deals with
But you also have stuff like Assassin's Creed and
Call of Duty, Battlefield. But yeah, when games get popular, people want to make money and they release the game every year. Doesn't matter how long it's been in the works. Every year you need a game. You need to remake the rosters. You need to have new characters. I don't know any of the names of the people to my right, except there was a dancing lady apparently.
I know all the names, but that's besides the point. The point is this: when you have these things where you're kind of repainting what you already did, and especially when they moved it to a PlayStation 4, a lot of people were expecting a bigger game, and it just didn't happen. And it does continue with a lot of the same problems of the previous couple of years. There's a series they call WWE Universe, where it's supposed to be you're supposed to create your own universe within the game, and the problem is they continually replay the same cutscenes and the same. The same things keep happening.
Just cut in with different characters.
And random things that shouldn't really happen inside the game keep happening. They keep trying to do these little minor tweaks to it, and it's not working. And until they fix that, this game's going to have a lot of problems. And also, I'm not a big fan of what they call a showcase mode, where you go back into a historical event in this wrestling where you replay matches, because basically it's like playing matches that have already happened that you know the finish to. Why am I replaying what has already happened?
You mean you don't want to have Rocky fight the Russian?
That's different. But what you end up having is, perfect example is you'll get to a point in the match and you have to hit a certain button. It's like a cutscene, which we talked about.
It's kind of like
stop
repeating
motion.
History.
Yeah, what we were talking about last week, where you have to just hit a button and one thing happens and it's determined to happen and it's taken away from the gameplay. And until stuff like that happens, and one other thing I think this series needs to stop is adding retro characters, where they take characters who are already in the game and just add different uniforms that they already wore. Yeah. And they take up a roster spot that could be going to somebody else.
That makes loads of money though. DLC characters, expansion packs.
Well, just make them different uniforms.
Packs.
I mean, you have the music, just do it. But at the end of the day, the series is still pretty popular, and it's probably going to be popular for a long time because WWE is still very, very popular. And until they do the couple little tweaks that we've talked about, they're going to have a lot of struggles.
And I feel these are trends that most major popular franchises have to deal with, which is just repeating, dealing with DLC, dealing with just...
They have to fix a lot. A lot of these gaming companies just start getting out of this. We just repaint everything we already did.
And this has been a trend that we've been talking about and complaining about since we started this show.
And that's why we're going to send it back to the desk to avoid more complaining.
That's actually a lie. You just lied. Why would you lie to them?
I never lie. I won most truthful in preschool. Now let's send it back to the desk. Well, that was some fun wrestling talk.
Are we going to Cattle Country next?
What's Cow Country?
You just want to go wrestling.
Well, you ruined my hillbilly voice. So now, so I don't offend anybody, let's send it over to the movie segment. Welcome everybody to the movie segment. I'm here with Erica and Dylan. Courtney's not here this week, but we will carry on without her. Now, this weekend, Fast and Furious 7 came out, and it was a monster hit. They did over $193 million just this weekend, and Dylan was telling me before the segment started that they actually broke over 200 yesterday. And basically, I mean, I think we would kind of just want to talk about kind of the series as a whole. And, unfortunately, they lost Paul Walker midway through the shooting, and they had to get his brother to stand in for him in a lot of scenes. But, Eric, you saw the ending part of it. What did you think of their tribute to him?
I just saw the ending, like you said, and I think it was like a minute and a half, and it was like a great ending to the series. So I really hope that they don't create any more of them, because the way it ended really just wrapped everything up.
Well, you don't make $200 million and not make another movie.
Yeah, they're totally making another movie.
You're going to cash that cow.
I've heard they're actually talking about trying to get up to 10, which they're at 7. It's plausible they could do that, and especially since me and Dylan have talked about this earlier this week, where what Transformers is, Fast and Furious kind of is. They're both ridiculous movies on their premise. I mean, they're
both stupid ideas.
I mean, basically, Fast and Furious started off as a car racing movie when car racing was kind of having this big little pickup in the early 2000s.
It was semi-serious.
Well, what happened was it started off as that, and it was about a heist, and it was interesting.
About finding money and criminals and stuff. And
I never saw Too Fast, Too Furious, and I've never seen Tokyo Drift, but I have seen the 4th and 5th and 6th movies. So, they've kind of adapted the series as they went along, and they brought on more characters like The Rock, who has been, I think he's kind of been the breath of fresh air that's kept this series going, because he just gives that vibe of cool.
And he's a fun actor too. Yeah, he has fun with the roles. Vin Diesel as well. They both actively enjoy what they're doing. You can tell they're there because they want to be there, not because of a contract.
And very true. Kind of what we were talking about with Transformers. Transformers is stupid in the wrong ways, where it's stupid, but they clearly don't realize how stupid they are being with their movies. And you have stuff like giant robots that are off-colored and some weird anatomy parts. Let's just leave it at that. It's a PG show.
I just think that when you watch a movie like Fast and Furious, you have to take it with a grain of salt that these things most likely would not happen in real life, and they do a really good job.
Are you telling me that you can't fly out of a plane with a tank?
Well, whatever you want to believe, whatever helps you sleep at night, you can believe, but they won't happen in the majority of our lives. We will not see these cars racing.
But I want to see the tank!
As long as you take that with a grain of salt, they're just entertaining movies, and like I said, I think I've seen a couple of them, but I haven't seen all of them, and just watching the end of the 7th one really made me want to go back and watch them all, because I want to see the storyline, and I want to see what goes on.
That's really good.
I've always enjoyed watching them. They're stupid movies, but they understand that they're stupid. They have fun with it, and they just get ridiculous. You have Fast Cars Go Fast versus these giant semi-terrorist organizations with guns and tanks and helicopters, and It does not take itself seriously in any fashion.
The fifth one, they go up against a whole like army, like a whole police force. It's really, it's so ridiculous. They're
But
like
it's fun.
But yeah, it's so fun, ridiculous. Like they stole like this giant vault of money, and it was like bouncing around a whole city and just ruining everything. It was I don't know if it was Argentina or Brazil or it was somewhere in South America they were running this movie. But but that's the thing. Movies like this are really a lot of fun, and that's what kind of made the whole series last as long as it has. Because if it's stuck to the whole we're being serious and it's about racing and stuff like that.
Serious and drama and dark and edgy. And
it would have fallen apart. I mean, there's still drama to it, but they're smart enough to know where.
It's not Batman dark.
Yeah, it's smart enough to know where its line is at, and as long as they know where that's at, they'll probably be very successful for the rest of their run. But let's kind of send it back to the TV station with you and me, and let's send it back to the desk. Well, that segment went fast and furious. Let's just send it to TV.
You get nothing.
And we're back here for the TV panel, guys. And kind of what we want to talk about today is, recently, as I'll kind of just quote Jimmy Fallon, who said, remember all those great NBC TV shows from the 90s that were sitcoms and everyone loved them? Well, NBC's bringing back a TV show from the 90s. It's just none of those ones. It's Coach.
Yes.
Dylan is the only one here who remembers Coach. I remember it, but I just remember thinking that the cast was old, and I found out later they weren't. But
I really enjoyed watching it in the morning.
I mean, but it's starting to create this trend in television where these TV shows that used to be popular are coming back. And this has happened before. Back in the 80s, they had a lot of 1960s and 70s shows come back to do like a 2-hour movie and kind of update you on the characters.
Either specials or sequels or spin-offs or
like the Brady Bunch had like 1800 and Beverly Hillbillies and all these shows that are long since gone. But and now they're kind of coming back with these shows creating their own TV shows. And they're kind of like spin-offs, but they're not, and it's kind of an interesting trend. Now, Erica, what do you think about these shows coming back that may not be a good idea or it could be a good idea?
Well, I know that one of the shows that is in talks of getting a spin-off is Full House. They're talking about having DJ and Kimmy having their own show with John Stamos, like either like producing or having like also like the role of Uncle Jesse coming back. I would be really excited to see it. I just don't know how I would feel about it being a series. I think it'd be a really good movie. Just having like the whole cast get back together, just like part of the cast getting back together to see what they're up to now, but I definitely will watch it.
Like a 2-hour special kind of deal.
I mean, well, that's the thing with Full House. Full House is one of those shows that like...
It was fun to watch.
It's not fun to watch.
Yes,
I have no idea why this show's popular.
No, I don't know, I just, like, I would get home from school when I was little, and like, I'd put Full House on, and like, I want to know what's going on with the characters, especially Kimmy, because she was always just so outrageous and like so annoying. I'm like, there's got to be great stuff.
But it's just like,
she's got to be up to like good.
It's that weird show that like I think is popular because of nostalgic reasons, especially everyone watched because there's nothing else on. But like, if you really go back and watch it, their comedy's really not that funny, and the storylines are just kind of like whatever. Like nothing goes from show to show.
I will agree to disagree with you in that statement. It is a great show. Full House like just emphasizes everything that was my childhood, and like you're right. It's a nostalgia thing, but it's also like, I don't know, when you go back to like most shows from like the 80s, the 90s, you watch like the comedy bits and you watch like the storylines, and you're like, this is nothing, this isn't good. But like that's because we have all these options now.
All I heard was agree. So now, Dylan, you're the actual fan of Coach here. So what do you think of a show like Coach coming back?
It deserves no right to get a remake or a sequel. I love Coach back in the day, but this worries me, and we've talked about this before, as a recent trend in Hollywood movies is to just make sequels or reboots. And we all know how reboots happen. It's either good or it's Spider-Man 3.
Well, Spider-Man 3 wasn't a reboot. It was just a bad
Well,
sequel.
do you get what I mean, though? Like, it's either really good or really bad. And it's because Hollywood doesn't want to take doesn't want to make new stuff.
And kind of what's been happening is...
The same thing for TV.
Yeah, and what's kind of been happening is you get these shows that come back. Because clearly, it's very hard to create a TV show because you have to create characters and make them likable. And, no matter what you do, you never know if your show is going to work. And, like, NBC is the epitome of this right now. Like, they can't get... Like, they go month to month with shows just tanking, and they've done shows. They have brought shows back, not with the same cast. I mean, I know they did a Charlie's Angels remake.
Did they?
Yeah, it was like
Oh,
Over
yeah,
2 or
I
3
remember
years.
2 or
that.
3 years ago. It made like a month. They canceled it. They tried to do a Bosom Buddies update, which was that awful Tom Hanks show where he was in a dress back in the 80s.
That was so bad.
And that show only made it like a couple of months. And actually, it didn't even make the air. Excuse me. I think they did like one episode, and someone was like, "This is really bad. let's pull a plug on this before we get any worse." But with these shows coming in and out, it's probably very hard for them to recreate these shows. And what you have to realize, it's not only that you have to bring these shows back, you have to be able to update these characters because, let's take Full House, for example. Those characters, when they were left, they were all in their 18. They're all 18.
They didn't have cell phones or anything.
And those characters are now in their, 40s, and
Modern day.
they're in modern day. And, you also have the fact that Candice Bure, who plays DJ, she's a very religious person, so it's probably going to be very hard for them to kind of adapt storylines to a modern day family because, her brother when he was on Growing Pains, which is not a controversial show, had a lot of problems with storyline material. So, it'll be interesting to see how that happens. And you also have the problem of, when these actors get back together, yes, they're very good at, meshing, but
do they have the same chemistry that they
on
had?
camera.
Yeah.
I mean, let's try in 20 years to come back and do this.
I know another show that's coming back is The Muppets. ABC is recreating The Muppets, and I think that one, just because it's a classic,
That's kind
will
of different,
definitely
though,
work. It's
a
yes, I
little
mean,
bit,
I
since,
feel like
you
they
can-
bring it back
But
every once in a while, but
as long as the people writing the story,
Yeah.
it's not like there's not going to be like, oh, the right-handed Muppet hates the left-handed Muppet because of stuff that happened 30 years ago.
yeah, no, I just think that's definitely one that you don't really have to worry about it succeeding or failing because it has such a great history of being able to come back and do TV specials. So I'm really excited to actually see that one.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with any of these shows is just trying to create. You got to recreate what you did, and if honestly, kind of get this segment wrapped into a bow. I would say there are a lot of shows that we all like.
Yeah.
But shows that I think could come back that I would like to see come back. It'll be there's a lot of shows I think would be interesting to see an update on. I don't know if shows like Coach are that. Now,
Yeah.
is there any shows that either of you would like to see them kind of update?
I don't really know. I think that a Friends special would be really interesting. And I know that once a year someone's always like, oh, there's gonna be a Friends reunion, and then it just turns out to be a rumor. So I think that if that actually happens,
To be fair, Matt LeBlanc I think put it best. He's like, Joey's cute when he's in his 20s trying to hit on women, but it's not very cute when you're in your 40s trying to hit on
Actually,
women.
well, I don't
show
want to
that
see a
he's-
series. I want to see a hour special.
Where are these characters?
Yeah.
I think the show that Joey's in right now that makes fun of the fact that he's Joey is
Yeah.
actually really good. But I'm kind of worried because the trend. Okay, so Hollywood doing reboots, it's been done badly. TV shows, the mid to late 2000s, the writers of TV shows have been gutted completely due to reality TV and the writer strikes. That gutted all the talent. Nobody's hiring anymore. Nobody wants to pay for writers. They don't want to give them creative
To
control.
be fair, though, reality TV is kind of lost.
No,
lost
it's dying, but
It's not dying, but it's
It's
going
dying
to
to
cable.
really slow
they
down.
lost all the talent for making stories and stuff due to the writer strike and reality TV and everybody funding that kind of stuff. They've lost the skill. They've lost the wanting to actually put money into things.
Very true.
And with these shows coming out, they're like, we can either make less money making something new or make more money and just go for that nostalgia for a season and then just make trash for a year.
I mean, it's an interesting concept. And if there's any show I think I would kind of want to see an update on, it'd be like Smallville, where Clark Kent became Superman, and then they stopped the show. It'd be interesting to see him do one adventure as Superman in live action. That'd be interesting.
Retcon the movie.
And if you're gonna redo a show that people kind of remember from the 80s and 90s, do Cheers or something. I mean, I think you can get a lot of comedy out those characters being in their 60s and
definitely.
70s and still being at a bar in their life. That would be kind of funny. Shows like that. But
sad.
it'll be maybe we're all wrong because all three of these shows could be huge hits. We could be totally talking about nothing we know anything
Oh,
about.
that Coach remake will be a horrible idea. Coach, TV show of the year, hundreds of $1 million.
I really doubt it though.
If it happens,
Although we do
though,
have a
we
habit of
predict
predicting the future.
We
so-
do.
It's true. I did win the lotto off that number I predicted and won 5 shows ago.
Are you lying again?
Yes.
If he won, he wouldn't be here.
That is darn true. But anyway, guys, I think we're going to close this week's show. I got to get to class, and it's been a hectic day. A lot of screw-ups on camera.
And
on
on
this
the-
side, we apologize to our production staff, who's done a great job trying to clean this up. Anyway, let's call it a day. Any of you guys want something to say?
No.
The Phillies have betrayed us.
Yes, they have.
Yankees for life.
Okay, she's not allowed on the set anymore. Security.
Let's just pretend like she said Phillies for life, and we will be calling this a day.
Send the hate mail in to get rid of her.
We don't have any mail.
We don't.
That's true.